everyone. Today we'll be unboxing another figurine for the week. Here we have is a figure from the manufacturer's Kadokawa. It's a figure part of their KDcolle line. It is a 1/7 scale PVC figure of the character Suzailgillazegallnelbuzegillreagranzelga, Elga, or Sui, or Elf for short, from the series Isekai Ojisan, or Uncle from Another World. As always, before we take the figurine out of its packaging, just in case you didn't know, Isekai Ojisan, or Uncle from Another World, is a web manga serialized in Kadokawa Shoten's comic Walker in 2018 by the mangaka Hotondo Shindeiru, who's only known for his work in Isekai Ojisan, but also has written other stories included in the Ijiranaide Nagataro-san Komiku Ansoroji in 2021 and Komono Furenzu Komiku Ansoroji Jabari Manhen in 2017. The series has gotten an anime adaptation with the same name, Isekai Ojisan, or Uncle from Another World. The anime consists of 13 episodes and is by studios Atelier Pont Dark. So here we have is, let's just say Elf for short, in a 1/7 scale by Kadokawa. This is her box rotating in 360. So without holding you guys back, let's just take the Tsundere elf out of her packaging and see how she looks. Here we have is the elf, or Sui, straight out of her packaging, and as you can see here, she does have protective plastic around the figurine, the little accessories, and also the base, just to protect the figurine from getting any paint damage or scratches around the figurine. So as always, let's just remove all of this excess plastic and see how the figurine looks up close. So here we have is an assembly instructions guide, or a handling instructions guide, and it is two-sided, but it's actually a folded piece of paper where one side is all blank and on the front end actually has all the info. But just for the sake of it, we're just gonna look at it folded, and here on the top section here we have is all in Japanese. If you cannot speak Japanese, at the bottom there is English text for anyone who speaks English. And either or, it's basically just a caution around, the figurine itself. And I also notice here in this little text here where it says do not leave the product in humid or hot environments. Honestly, that goes for every single figurine you do purchase. So here on this side of the packaging, which is only in Japanese text, as you can see, we do have is to swap all pieces from her facial expressions, her sword, her hand sculpt, and also her little shoulder pad. Again, if you don't speak Japanese, it's quite simplistic that you could follow this without reading it, but again, it's just the basic, be careful when you connect them, and also which accessory goes with what. So you can pause the video from then, but let's just move on to the next part. So here we have is the figurine's base, and just at the bottom here we do have its info just like every other figurine. But I think here we only have is actually just the mangaka's name there, Hotondo Shindeiru, and made in China, which is a little bit different, but not really too much of a bother. But here is just plain white, nothing really too special on the bottom of the base. But towards the top section, we do get is something actually quite painted well. Again, I'm a little bit mixed when it comes to, rocky textured bases. But honestly, I think I prefer that more than just a plain black or white base when it comes to figurine. And as you can see, the texture work and all the paint work around this base actually looks really good. Really represents gray, or should I say, I was about to say concrete, but I would say gravel or rocks around because we are in like an isekai world or like a fantasy world. You do get is this textured like gravel, I guess. or ground. But here we do have is the pegs which go on the figurine. We do get 2 metallic pegs and 1 little plastic one on the front where her feet does connect to. Yeah, you do see here in this close-up shot the texture work is actually really nice. I don't really see much of an issue when it comes to the paint. Everything looks really great, and I did notice on this corner here, on this little section, I know it's not that noticeable, but I spotted it in this area here. There is discoloration of this little rock area here where it looks like the corner was rubbing against, the paint was rubbing against the box, or maybe the little plastic covering that it does have or come with. But it's not too much of a damage. It's actually not that noticeable. But again, disclaimer, if I ever get anything damaged when it comes to these figurines, like the one in this little area here, just know this may be just mine and maybe not yours when you do get it. But besides that, overall the paintwork and all that around and the texture work looks really amazing. So let's just move on to the actual figurine. So here we have is Sui, or the elf, and as you can see here, first thing I've noticed is that she actually has really bright red boots, which actually looks really amazing. Or maybe because it's the only different color compared to the rest of the figurine, it's just something that pops out to me. And you can see, looking up real close, it does have texture around her boot. What you do see is a little bit of a line pattern around the boot. I'm saying boot a lot. But here at the bottom we do see is little insert holes where you do connect it onto the base, just like we saw earlier with the main base. And you can see it's actually a mixture of red and black. But because it being red, it actually pops out a little bit more. And again, looks really nice. The sculpt work looks really great. I don't really see anything too bad. Maybe they could have added a little bit of crease around the top of her boot, because she's in a little bit of a posture with one of her legs a little bit tilted up. Maybe that could have been a little bit of a detail they could have added, but it's not really much of a bother. Or maybe it's just a nitpick for me. But you can see both feet there almost identical. So here, going towards the top to her leg portion, it's just plain black. There's not really too much to show you because she has long, is it stockings or leggings? Well, I'm gonna stick with leggings, but we don't really see that much detail besides you see here on her back legs. There's a little bit of line where you do see like the crease by her leg where it bends, but not really too much here. We do see a little bit of her knee, like in this section, a little bit of paintwork there. And the bottom we do see is her waist area, which is just plain black, nothing really too special. The paintwork at the bottom of her dress looks actually really nice with a mixture of blue and black, a little bit of texture work there when it comes to some of the lines. But besides that, there's not really too much to see at the bottom of her skirt or by her leg area. But we do get this a little bit of a dynamic, like wind blowing around her dress, which you do see is flowing around or like waving around in the air. And a close-up shot here we do have is this silver pattern that goes around the dress, which I do notice compared to another figurine I've seen. The line work here, or the silver paint they did around the line, looks actually really well, and it's actually aligned itself with the textured line that they actually sculpted around. And we do see a bit of crease lines around the dress, which makes it pop out a little bit more. But there's something I do notice is that crease only comes in certain areas, where you see some areas where there's no crease at all. So it kind of makes it like the dress is stiff. But there's some areas where it does have it, where like in this section here you do see a bit of crease like around, or like fabric folds, which is great detail. But as I said, I think because I'm used to seeing a little bit more detail when it comes to the dress, it does make it seem like it's like a firm fabric. Here we have is a close-up shot of her arm sculpt, or should I say her hand sculpt, which a little bit hard to show you because the dress kind of covers it, or from the light that I have here, it's a little bit hard. But we do see a little bit of texture by her knuckles, and we do see is her fingers that are painted in a little bit of a darker tone compared to her skin. And here we have is her long sleeve, which we do have is a little bit of a pattern. It kind of looks a little bit weird. It kind of feels like they were gonna put something by her sleeve there, but they stopped. Or maybe that's just how the pattern is. But here on her arm here, we do get is one of her shoulder pads, or an insert for her shoulder pad, which goes in this little hole here. But honestly, since it's like kind of like a armor, it kind of looks quite detailed. So here we have also extended armor from her waist area, from her waist area, which we do have armor around her waist. And looking at this angle, you do have is a little bit of fabric fold here where the armor is being placed onto her, which gives it a little bit more detailed look compared to the flat that we saw at the bottom of her dress. And the armor from the back portion you do see looks really nice. I love the paintwork here, and the silver really pops out, and it looks like almost like high tech. So here we have a bit of her look of her hair, or should I say her ponytail. It is blocking a little bit of the armor, so I can't really show you too much of it. From this side angle, you do see the dress going on top of the armor, so it's not blended together, but actually a little bit lifted above it. Here we have is her front bosom area, where you see more of her dress with the similar pattern we saw towards her bottom. And we do see is a little bit of texture work here with her armor. Same thing here, we have is her left hand, where you do see her fingers, like almost like the top of two of her fingers look like they're fused compared to the bottom where they're both separate from her pinky. And the same texture work here we got on her arm sleeve, which again looks a little bit weird. It's like almost like they were sculpting something there, but they decided just to keep it like that. And here at the back we do get is another insert hole here for her shoulder pad. And again, it's a similar design that we saw with her other arm. And here at the back, again, another close-up shot by her hair. I think they did a really amazing job with this hair. All the individual lining here gives it a lot of detail compared to, I think, some of the other figurines we've unboxed recently. This one actually looks really nice. Towards the bottom, towards the middle section, towards the top, really amazing detail. And you do see this little green strap around her hair, which ties it up in a knot. And you can see towards the bottom here that it actually looks really well sculpted. Going up to the top of her hair portion here, again, same thing towards the bottom. Looks really detailed with all these lines that they did added, with a side profile of her face, with this portion of her face actually seeing the front of it. And as you can see, I think they did a really nice job here with her eyes. She does have a little mouth and a little nose, where you do see two of her eyebrows. She does have a quite large forehead being blocked by her front bangs, and she also has that little jewel in the middle of her forehead there, but it's not really that noticeable because of her hair sculpt, but she does have that little jewel at the top section there. Looks really nice. Here's a top view of the figurine where you do see more of the sculpt work. Added all these lines, gives it a lot of detail, and I think they did a really nice job with this. But again, overall, it's actually a really nice sculpted figurine, from the top hair of her hair sculpt, from the middle portion of her armor, all the way to the bottom of her shoes. I think the overall sculpt looks really nice. There's not really too much bad I can say about this. Maybe they could add a little bit of folds on her skirt, but it still looks great regardless. So let's just move on to her extra parts. Just like I said earlier in the video, we do get as an insert hole where you do get this shoulder pad here for her relic armor, and as you can see, have a bit of pattern around it. A little bit hard to show you because of my lighting, but it does have a little bit of almost like a patterning design around the armor from the little circle here to the side sections there. And again, it gives it a lot of detail to it rather than just being flat silver. And there's not really too much to show you with this. It's actually a little bit of a matte finish, and towards the bottom of it, as you can see, it does have this little bit of a translucent peg here, As you can see, kind of looks like electricity, but it's like a little spiky little insert there. Where you do get is two for this arm, shoulder, where you do have one that's just plain flat, while the other one's a little bit jagged. But because it's supposed to be a magical armor, so that's why you get this little bit of a design when it comes to this insert, where it makes it seem like it's floating on the character itself. And as you can see here, the longer peg here shows that it makes it look like it's floating away from the character, which is one of the options you do get. But if you choose the straight or flat one, it makes it seem a lot more closer, where you're a little bit more limited to how you pose the shoulder pad. But those are the two options you do get, so you can choose either or. So this side of her shoulder pad, we do get is something similar, but with this one, it's a little bit of a longer little peg section here. But again, towards this top section here, we do get a similar pattern design. I'm not really certain if they're the same patterns or if there's a little bit of a difference, but to me, it looks almost exactly the same. Again, the bottom here is quite detailed, and again, just like I said earlier, you do get is a little bit of a longer insert, where you do get is an option of either having it long or having a shorter insert. You do get is a little bit of a smaller one, and it's just optional if you want to have it a little bit more farther away from the character or a little bit closer with her relic armor. Being magical, you know, it's going to be almost like if it's floating. But it's either or, you can choose one that's a little bit more closer or one that's a little bit more farther. So let's connect it to the figurine. So here is her magical sword, which is I think is like an energy blade, which is the reason why you get an extension of another piece, which I did remove it here so we can see the inside of the sword. And you can see here we do have is a little bit of a handle part there, and it's basically just plain black. Nothing really too special about the sword besides the extra extension that it does come with. But the sword is just silver. It looks pretty nicely sculpted. It's not really too much I can say about it. The handle does look quite interesting, and just like I stated earlier, this is the little extension it does come with, which is basically like the little energy blade from the sword, which I think is supposed to be like a vibrating sword. And you do insert this onto the sword, and I'm saying that a lot. You do insert this onto it, and yeah, it's a little bit loose. But again, that could just be my sculpt, but maybe yours will be a little bit more of a tighter fit. But it's like a cool little addition, so we do connect it to her hand there. that it does come with, and as you can tell here, she does come with a cosmic ring, which is one of the rings that Ojisan gave to Elf throughout the series, or should I say in his flashback, or should I say in his memories, where she does give the cosmic ring to the Elf, where she thinks it's like almost like a proposal ring out of, you know, like a relationship. But I think this is supposed to be like almost like there's other rings compared to this one. I forgot how many it is, but yeah, this is just one of them. And as you can see from this close-up shot here, it's actually quite reflective from the zoom in here that I'm showing you. And it used maybe like a little bit of a tad of too much glue. You can kind of see like a little bit sticking out of the ring. So again, I'm not sure this is paint or glue, but that's just from what I see from the camera. I can't really see much from this distance, but when it is zoomed in from the camera, you do notice a little bit of almost looks like glue around it. And this arm sculpt, or this hand sculpt, does swap out with this one here. So you do remove the front portion of her head here, removing her front bangs, and also removing the face sculpt here, where you do have the optional additional embarrassed look of the Elf, where right here we do get side-by-side comparison that I'm showing, and you can tell here that one looks quite embarrassed while the other one's more of a stoic look. And obviously we have an embarrassed look because she was giving the ring, or when Ojisan compliments the Elf, where she gets embarrassed because she's like a tsundere, which is quite cute. I kind of love this little face here where she's like worried, like stop embarrassing or saying embarrassing stuff, which is quite cute. And you can kind of see she also has the jewel on top of her forehead, just like the other face sculpt. But again, you do place this one when you do connect her hand there with the cosmic ring on her. Alright guys, so that's going to be the end of this one. So that was Kadokawa's KDcolle 1/7 scale PVC figure of the character Sui, or Elf, from the series Isekai Ojisan, or Uncle from Another World. Overall, a really nice figurine. Honestly, there's not really too much bad I can say about this. I know I did criticize a little bit of her sleeve area where it does have those lines, but I think that's how the design is. I've seen other figurines that have something similar, so maybe just the way it looks a little bit off. Also, I wish there was a 1/7 scale of Ojisan. I know there's a Nendroid of him, but honestly I want a full sculpt of him to pair up with here with Elf-san. Or maybe some of the other characters. I did see one that looked interesting. I don't know if that's released, if that was a prototype. So all in all, what do you guys think of this figurine? It actually honestly looks really nice, and I think this really well. This isn't the only Elf figurine that you could get. There's other figurines out there you could purchase, just like the Nendroid or like a Sega Prize one. You can go for those as options. So that's going to be the end of this one, guys. I don't want to keep holding you guys back. So I am getting, I think, 3 new figurines coming in, so hopefully I can get those out. But for the time being, I'll still be unboxing older figurines just like this one and a couple of other ones that I do have. Like I always say, always support the original creators for its said series of figurines that I do unbox. Thank you guys for always supporting the channel and supporting my work. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll leave you guys off with the figurine rotating in 360 and close-up shots, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully they make an Ojisan figurine, because I would like to see that. And I'm not talking about the
す。